Hello and welcome to Fast and Factual. I'm Parekh and I'll take you through the top stories of the day. We begin with news from the Israel-Hamas war. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu gave a televised state address yesterday. He said Israel is preparing for a ground invasion of Gaza. However, he did not provide any details on the timing or other information about the operation. Netanyahu said the decision on when the forces would go into Gaza would be taken by the government's special war cabinet. The Israeli military says its ground forces conducted an operation within the Gaza Strip last night. They attacked multiple Hamas targets before withdrawing. The Israeli military has described it as the biggest land incursion of the current war. They said the incursion was carried out in preparation for the next stage of the fighting. The Israeli military said it struck Gaza's Al-Shati refugee camp. An IDF spokesperson said that the strike targeted a staging ground for Hamas. Gazan authorities say the strike killed and wounded dozens of people. A rocket fired from Gaza hit a residential building in Israel. At least 2 people were injured and were being treated for glass and shrapnel injuries. The rocket struck the central Israeli city of Rishon LeZion, south of Tel Aviv. Another rocket, which was fired at the same time, was intercepted. Russia and China vetoed a US-drafted UN Security Council resolution on the war between Israel and Hamas. The draft aimed at addressing a worsening humanitarian crisis in Gaza, calling for pauses to allow aid access. The UAE also voted against the resolution. 10 members voted in favor and 2 abstained. Russia also failed to get minimum support needed for its UNSC resolution on the conflict. It's the second Russian resolution to fail. This further deepens the Security Council's deadlock over any unified response to address the situation. Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan has slammed Israel over its bombardment of Gaza. He cancelled a visit to Israel and said Israel's attacks on Gaza amount to a state of mental illness. Erdogan also accused Western powers of fraud. He said countries who say Israel has a right to defend itself should also condemn the humanitarian crisis in Gaza. Erdogan added that he did not view Hamas as a terrorist organization. The Turkish president says he views the group as liberators fighting for their land. This drew condemnation from the Israeli government. Egyptian President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi also made a statement yesterday. He said the displacement of Palestinians from Gaza will not provide a solution to the ongoing conflict. El-Sisi added that any move to displace Gazans into Egypt's Sinai Peninsula would be extremely dangerous. Hundreds of protesters marched in the West Bank city of Ramallah to protest against the Israeli airstrikes in Gaza. The protesters waved the Palestinian flag and raised slogans. Israel has bombarded the densely populated Gaza Strip since October 7th. Gaza's health ministry says more than 6,500 Palestinians have been killed in the Israeli airstrikes. Hundreds of Jordanians gathered near the Israeli embassy in Amman again yesterday. They chanted slogans against Israel and the US. The protesters called on the Jordanian government to annul their peace treaty with Israel. They also called for Jordan to expel the Israeli ambassador. In a separate protest, dozens of demonstrators gathered near the French embassy in Jordan's capital. They were protesting against French President Emmanuel Macron's visit to the kingdom. Thousands took to the streets of Argentina's capital, Buenos Aires. They marched to the Israeli embassy to show support for Palestinians in Gaza. The protesters included members of the Palestinian community, activists, and lawmakers. They denounced Israel's bombing of Gaza. Now for other stories making headlines across the world. We begin with the US, where a massive manhunt is underway. A gunman killed at least 22 people and wounded dozens in mass shootings in the state of Maine. Rescue vehicles were rushed to tend to the wounded, and hundreds of police officials are looking for the gunman. Police say that the suspect is a man named Robert Card. CCTV footage captured him holding a semi-automatic weapon with an extended clip as he walked into a bowling alley. The suspect is reportedly a certified arms instructor and a member of the US Army Reserve. Republicans have elected Congressman Mike Johnson as the Speaker of the U.S. House of Representatives. It comes after a turbulent 3 weeks that left the House rudderless and unable to respond to global crises like the Israel-Hamas war. The Speaker's chair has been vacant since Kevin McCarthy was ousted on October 3rd by fellow Republicans. After winning the Speaker's gavel, Johnson said he would soon bring a legislation to signal support for Israel. Russia has successfully tested its ability to deliver a massive retaliatory nuclear strike by land, sea and air. The drill was overseen by Russian President Vladimir Putin. Footage of the drill was released by the Russian Defense Ministry. It showed high-powered missiles launching and military airplanes taking off. The Russian nuclear strike test coincides with Moscow de-ratifying a landmark nuclear test ban treaty. The de-ratification bill was unanimously passed by Russia's upper house of parliament, and it's been sent to Putin for his sign-off. South Korean and US navies held large-scale joint maritime drills off the Korean peninsula's west coast. They conducted live-fire exercises which included US helicopters and patrol aircraft as well. The drills were a part of a broader annual military exercise. North Korea has been slamming joint drills by the US and South Korea and their allies in the region. Pyongyang says they are provocations and has been responding with missile tests. North Korea has called these drills a rehearsal for an invasion. Taiwan's defense ministry said it detected 15 Chinese Air Force planes entering the island's air defense zone. Taipei says Chinese fighter jets and drones accompanied warships carrying out combat readiness patrols and drills. The island has repeatedly complained about Chinese military activity near the island over the past 3 years. This, as Beijing has been stepping up pressure to try and force the island to accept its sovereignty. Australian police have busted a Chinese crime syndicate. The syndicate allegedly laundered $229 million Australian dollars through one of the country's largest money remitters. At least 7 members of the Chinese syndicate have been arrested. More than 330 police officials conducted 20 searches across Australia to arrest them. America's United Auto Workers Union has reached a tentative agreement with Ford. This comes as a breakthrough in the 41-day strike targeting Detroit's big 3 car manufacturers. The 4-year deal still has to be approved by the 57,000 union members at the company. It includes a 25% wage increase for hourly employees, guaranteed cost of living adjustments, and a right to strike over plant closures. US President Joe Biden hailed the agreement as historic. Social media platform X, formerly known as Twitter, is launching an early version of video and audio calling for some users. X owner and Chief Technology Officer Elon Musk made the announcement on the platform. The latest update comes amid a series of new features and changes to the platform under Musk. Musk acquired the company nearly a year ago. The 1-year journey has resulted in lost money, lost advertisers, and lost trust for Twitter. FTX founder Sam Bankman-Fried is set to testify at his criminal fraud trial. This after his closest associates blamed the former billionaire for the collapse of his now bankrupt cryptocurrency exchange. Bankman-Fried has been accused of stealing billions of dollars in customer funds from FTX. He will now face a tough cross-examination from prosecutors. They have documents and messages that indicate Bankman-Fried was aware that FTX was short billions of dollars. China has sent its youngest ever crew of astronauts to its Tiangong space station. The Shenzhou 17 spacecraft carrying them has blasted off from the Jiuquan launch site. The three-person team has the youngest average age yet for Chinese astronauts. In climate news, Hurricane Otis made landfall in Mexico's Acapulco and devastated the city. The officials are calling it a rare Category 5 storm. It's one of the strongest to ever hit Mexico's Pacific coast. No fatalities have been recorded yet. Environmental activists gathered in Bolivia to demand action against ongoing forest fires in the country. The protesters said communities and animals are crying and biodiversity is being lost. The forest fires are also leading to harmful air pollution in various cities across Bolivia. The protesters demanded that the government declare a national emergency. There's a drought taking place in Brazil that's affecting the Amazon River. Authorities are trying to provide assistance to affected communities dependent on the Amazon. Many of these communities reside in remote areas without roads. They rely on boats for transportation. More than 630,000 people have reportedly been impacted by the state of emergency in the Amazon. Bird flu has been detected in the Antarctic region for the first time. British Antarctic Survey has found the strain of H5N1 virus in South Georgia's brown skua birds. South Georgia is a British overseas territory and is just above Antarctica's main landmass. The scientists think that it might have spread when the birds were migrating from South America. They fear that this might spread rapidly through the Antarctic region's dense bird colonies. The air quality in India's financial hub Mumbai has worsened over the last few days. The city was covered under a blanket of smog. Mumbai authorities warned people to stay indoors. They also sent out trucks to spray water around the city, hoping to disperse the dust particles in the air. Now moving to sports news, and Glenn Maxwell scored a century each as Australia set a target of 400 runs. The Netherlands were bowled out for just 90 runs in the 21st over. Aussie spinner Adam Zampa took 4 wickets while giving away just 8 runs in the one-sided game. Australia's Glenn Maxwell went on to break a couple of records as he scored a century in yesterday's match. He reached 100 runs in just 40 balls, making it the fastest century in an ICC ODI World Cup. Maxwell's knock also makes him the fastest to reach 100 runs for Australia in the one-day international format overall. Dutch bowler Bas de Leede set a record for conceding the most runs in an ODI innings. There was some consolation for the right-arm pacer as he picked up 2 wickets as a face-saver. Bas de Leede was hit for 115 runs in his 10 overs by Australian batters. The previous record for conceding the most runs was held by Australian bowler Mike Lewis, who gave away 113 runs in his 10 overs. Indian all-rounder Hardik Pandya has been ruled out of the upcoming match against England. Last week, Pandya suffered a ligament tear in his foot during India's match against Bangladesh. He continues to recover from the injury and will undergo a fitness test today. If Pandya is declared unfit, he'll also have to miss India's clash against Sri Lanka in the first week of November. India will face England on Sunday in the city of Lucknow. In other cricket news, Amol Mazumdar has been appointed as the head coach of the Indian women's team. Mazumdar has been asked to join his duties with immediate effect. This is because the Indian women's head coach position has been vacant for the last 10 months. Mazumdar had an illustrious domestic cricket career before he took up coaching. In football, Manchester City beat the Swiss club Young Boys 3-1 at the UEFA Champions League. The game was scoreless in the first half. Man City scored first in the 48th, with the Young Boys equalising just 4 minutes later. Then striker Erling Haaland scored a double to secure a comfortable win for Man City. Spanish giants Barcelona beat Ukrainian club Shakhtar Donetsk 2-1 in yesterday's match. Ferran Torres scored for Barca in the 28th minute. Just 8 minutes later, Barcelona scored their second goal on a strike from Fermin Lopez. In the second half, Shakhtar Donetsk scored 1 goal to close down the margin in the loss. French club Paris Saint-Germain took on Italian side AC Milan in yesterday's Champions League match. PSG cruised past Milan 3-0 as Kylian Mbappe scored the first goal for the French side. The other 2 PSG goals came in the second half from Randall Muani and Lee Kang-in. In tennis, world number 2 Carlos Alcaraz says he's recovering well from his back injury. Alcaraz took to social media to announce that he'll play in the Paris Masters. The Spaniard said, and I quote, "I'm feeling better every day and I'm excited to finish this year on a high." The Paris Masters begins from the 28th of October. American tennis player JENSON Brooksby has been handed a suspension for 18 months. This is after Brooksby missed out on 3 drug tests this year. The American has filed an appeal against the suspension but has accepted that missing 2 out of the 3 drug tests was his fault. Brooksby says he was not informed about the 3rd drug test and is contesting the allegations. If Brooksby's appeal is not considered, then he will not be seen in action till January 2025. In entertainment news, yesterday's planned meeting between the Hollywood Actors Union and major studios has been postponed. Actors Union representatives said they needed more time to evaluate the offers made by the Hollywood studios. A meeting has been scheduled for later today. The Indian film Leo has been accused of copying a song by the artist Otnika. Otnika has worked as the composer for the show Peaky Blinders. The Leo song Ordinary Person was linked to Otnika's Where Are You from the hit show. He says his team is looking into the matter. The composer wrote that the situation is very unclear and he will soon give an assessment. Marvel actor Jonathan Majors was accused of domestic violence in March. This accusation was by his then-girlfriend, the choreographer Grace Jabari. She has now been arrested after Majors filed a counter-complaint saying it was Jabari who attacked him. Officials, however, dropped the case and said she won't be prosecuted. Majors will still head to trial in the assault case on November 29th. G-Dragon, a member of the K-pop band Big Bang, was arrested for alleged drug abuse. He's reportedly connected to an ongoing drug case in South Korea. However, G-Dragon was not held in police custody following his arrest. The actor Cedric Jones has passed away at the age of 46. The actor and athlete starred in films like Southpaw, The Terminal List and Emancipation. He reportedly died on October 16th. He's survived by his wife and 3 children. That's all for this episode of Fast and Factual. Thank you for watching. Please stay tuned to First Post.